It's the running. It's the kind of the running joke, like all lawyers suck except for mine, and he's the honest and righteous one.
Yeah, well, I want the crooked bastard of
No,
one.
all lawyers suck except for mine. He sucks me.
Yeah. He costs me money, but man, he causes torment in the people that I don't like. Welcome to the PARAcast. I'm your host, Tomas the Boss Hernandez, joining you in front of the red bed. Tonight, joining me, Disneyland calls its employees cast members. His role is trespasser. It's Robert Wyatt.
Hey, just because they trespass you from the property doesn't mean I can't change my name and go under a different name.
And listen,
That just makes Disneyland an upgraded game of hide and seek.
Yes.
You can hide
Try
in the
and find
bathrooms.
me in the park now, losers.
Yeah. And he's afraid of only two things: injustice and all the puppets from the Dark Crystal. It's Jared Stepp.
Those
Jared's
puppets are
actually trying to
terrifying.
figure out what
I don't want to talk about
the
it.
puppets are.
The labyrinth in the Dark Crystal.
Yeah, I was going to say they worked with David Bowie. I know at one point they got rehired for a different movie, but I know they worked with David Bowie.
They did work with David Bowie and his penis hanging out of those pants at the end of that movie. It is the most distracting part of that entire show is David Bowie's crotch hanging out there.
I have never seen either one of those shows, and now I'm really glad.
A feature.
It's a feature. Well, you get to see like a 20-year-old Jennifer Connelly, which isn't that bad. But then you have to watch David Bowie sing about how he wants her to be with him as the Goblin King. It's a weird movie. It
has Jennifer Connelly in it?
Yeah, it does.
Ooh.
It does. That and The Rocketeer. Jennifer Connelly and The Rocketeer. What a smoke show.
I do like her in that.
Anyways, what we like doing is spending money and making poor financial decisions. This week in poor financial decisions,
all three of us. Even Tom, guys. Even Tom. I think actually Tom spent more money than me and Robert, which is the first that has ever happened.
Oh, hold on a second. Not only did I spend more money, I spent more money on something less useful than what you guys did. Yours is yours is a cutting edge piece of technology. Mine is quite possibly the most accurate and well built handgun ever produced
in the 1970s
of all time. Robert, the Mark 23 of all time. No one makes shit like it's a polymer framed handgun that cost $2,000. But anyway, this is the what the great thing about this show is that this show, none of our significant others will ever listen to this show or whatever. If you're stalking us or whatever like that, you won't even make it through the show because it's too boring to listen to for those people. But what you can get is you can announce to the world that you spent $2,500 and it will still be the best kept secret. You could put it on a publicly broadcasted show on YouTube and it'd be the best kept secret in your house that you spent $2,500. Moisha, he sends. I'm looking at Mark 23s. I see this one Mark 23. I've always wanted one. 6-inch barrel, threaded barrel, O-ringed, gigantic, crazy overbuilt pistol from 1996. Star of Metal Gear Solid, all that. 6,000 rounds before any stoppage. 30,000 rounds made it without a parts breakage. Like this thing will shoot. It's guaranteed to shoot a 2-inch group at 50 yards. It'll shoot 180 grain bullets, no problem. 230 grain bullets, no problem. Like this, the Mark 23 is quite possibly the most overbuilt, over-engineered pistol ever designed and created. And I've always wanted one. So I'm sitting here, I'm looking at this $1,870 Mark 23, and I'm like, don't really need it. It's a lot of money. I won't shoot it as much. I should probably just get a Beretta or whatever like that. And then Moisha sends me a thing, and it says, hey, Arms Unlimited has these European import in a steel case, tan frame Mark 23s, and they also come with, get this, a B&T Mark 23 suppressor, also Cerakoted in desert tan with matching serial numbers. And that's...
Stop, I can only get so erect.
And like the Mark 23 was like $1,700, and then with the suppressor, it was like $2,500, $2,510 shipped. And so this is literally the combination that anybody with the Mark 23 would ever want. It's a $1,700 Mark 20. Like some Mark, you go to Cabela's, they want $2,400 for a Mark 23. This was $2,510, and it comes with a suppressor. And I'm just like, I can't pass this up.
So really, it's $2,710 because you got to do the
$200
the
stamp tax. It's actually $2,910 because I got to buy 4 more magazines. It's actually $3,210 because I got to find some sort of holster for the thing or whatever.
And so now you
buy
know
the
how
laser.
Firearms.
Oh, I'm not even messing
Lamb.
around with the lamb. I could not spend the money on the lamb. But yeah, so
Are
I got.
you gonna get the head scarf thing like
bandana?
Solid Snake wears? The
I
bandana.
was talking to Jared about shooting the Not a Cop match and with the SOCOM, so I would need a few more magazines. I would need a holster. If I get a holster that carries it suppressed, then I could shoot the whole match suppressed and then just burn my thigh 8 to 9 times.
Listen, you could just do headshots the entire time and just one shot every single target. Just
yeah, it's
come on.
I'd run around behind you and stuff magazines for you. I'd help you out, bro.
Yeah, if I
caddies.
If I get it in time and I get a holster or whatever, like I'll go pull some 45. Kevin gave me 500 large pistol primers. I'll buy a conversion kit for my press and I'll buy some bullets. I'll load up some 45 for it because it would be a ton of fun to go out there and shoot that thing. But it's a ridiculous handgun, and all it's going to do is live as my nightstand gun. All 14 inches of it.
To be clear,
so you have something else that's 14 inches being replaced.
Not to shoot anyone with, just to masturbate to.
No, we have a real gun with a light and a dot for the shooting people with. But I was just sitting there looking at it. I was just like, gosh dang it, that would be so freaking awesome to have. And so I spent like Friday looking at like Mark 23 videos, and I was just like, this thing is legit. Like it's the coolest, freaking most reliable, most accurate, probably handgun ever made on Earth from a production facility. And it's like HK only brings like maybe 1,000 and 2,000 in a year. And so I'm going to get one. And the fact that it has a matching B&T suppressor, and the suppressor wait times right now for 4.4s are like 1 day, 4 days. Like I'm going
Dude, I was at the Armory, 9 hours.
Oh.
You believe that?
Yeah.
Holy
Wow.
jeez.
Yeah, like I'll pick it up before the shift. I'll come get it after the shift. Like it's going to be
Goodness gracious.
one of those things. And it's just like just a thread on the suppressor, aim it down there, fire a shot, and just watch it go. Watch it like just the idea of sitting there at 25 yards and just printing a tiny thing of 230 grain ammunition in a small little B8 with the suppressor on. It's just going to be magic. Adjustable trigger. It's got an adjustable trigger.
We're gonna have to get you some wad cutters.
Oh, that would
so
be.
You can make some nice, beautiful holes.
Just
the best holes. Beautiful holes.
Beautiful holes, the best holes. So yeah, I'm waiting for that dang thing to
shit!
ship.
You just reminded me. I gotta go to Frank's match tomorrow. I completely forgot about that. Oh fuck.
Frank has beautiful holes.
Maybe. No, you did the Trump impression, and that reminded me of Frank. And then it reminded me of the fact that he's now in Taiwan, which reminded me of the fact that I told him I'd come and I'd help him out at his match at Ready Gunner tomorrow.
Solid gold. Well,
yeah,
at HK Mark 23
my
is not
thought
pattern in Taiwan. Anyways, if you guys have extra 45 brass and you have no idea what to do with it, hit me up on Telegram. I'll give you an address. You can even pay for the shipping. I'll let you send that all to me because I kind of just want to go on like wait for some like 185 grain or 200 grain or whatever and just buy like 6,000 rounds of 45 caliber to go shoot that thing because it is going to be an absolute blast. Like I literally told Mike, I called Mike, my son, my 16-year-old son. I said, I bought the coolest thing ever. And he said, what'd you get? And I was like, take a guess. He goes, you bought a SOCOM. And I was like, I bought a SOCOM. And so
goddamn right.
So yeah, yep.
That's wonderful.
Dude, I'm so like there's times where I've spent money and I get instant buyer remorse. Like I didn't get it with my car and I don't feel bad about getting this because it's not only
the engagement ring.
The engagement ring mostly. No, I did, it's fine. But the Mark 23 like in the German steel case, everything with the matching B&T suppressor. Like it's going to be one of those things where you pull out and you go like, oh snap, here's one of these, shoot one of these. Is it going to be concealed carry? Nope. Is it going to be? Am I going to start shooting L10? Nope. But a match a year, will I bring that thing out to shoot that thing? Absolutely. It'll be, and shoot it suppressed. Absolutely, I will. It'll be a fun and marvelous time, and hopefully the suppressor stuff comes back, and then I shoot the not a cop match, slinging 45s out of suppressed, 14-inch long handgun.
Sounds reasonable.
Yep. Anyways, you guys got new guns, and you shot a match. So let's talk about the Staccato HD. You guys each have one. Robert, let's talk about your gun, and Jared, talk about yours, then talk about the match and shooting it.
I got this immediately. I mean, because the whole reason I wanted it was just to be able to, because I always said, what if somebody came out with a left-handed ambidextrous 2011, I'd buy it. And sure enough, that's what happened. And so this one, it's the one that takes the Glock mags. Everybody knows about that. And got it. And it's so funny when I got this thing. I think they went and like dunked it in motor oil because it was dripping oil out of everything. And I figured out how to tear it apart. Tearing it apart's a bitch. Enough to try and clean it out. And I'm like, cool, I got it all done. And then I like cycled it a little bit, and I'm like, shit, it's still bad. So I don't know. I can take apart 1911. I can take apart a 2011. I don't know how close this is, but I sort of want to tear it apart because just even after, I mean, I've got about 450, 500 rounds through it. Not tons, but I've got enough through it now that I thought some of that would have it would be all gone, but it's still just leaking oil from everywhere. I don't know what's up with that. But
so which model is yours? Is yours the 4.5 or the 4?
It's just the 4.
Okay.
And so I'm so tickled with this gun. It's just such a fantastic gun. The hardest thing, this is really weird. Like I've been shooting CZs for so long. I went to find Glock magazines that I'm gonna go shoot it at the match. I went to find Glock. I couldn't find any.
You don't have 9mm Glock magazines. You have 10mm Glock magazines. You have 45 caliber magazines, but he does not have 9mm Glock mags.
Yeah, it's the craziest thing. But I have a box, but it was filled with these P mags, and I've never. I think that's why I have them, is because I've just never gotten rid of them because they just don't work. I've never had great luck with a PMAG.
I've never had a problem ever with a PMAG. Like I competed with shoot my Glocks with my PMAGs and the 21 rounders. I've never had an issue with the PMAG.
I found that if the magazine release is on the right-handed side of the gun, as a right-handed shooter, they work great. When I swapped them over to be a left-handed side, they were very unreliable. They wouldn't drop free consistently. And I would do the thing where you'd put the WD-40 on a rag and wipe them down and stuff like that. I could just never get consistency out of them. And I'm like, okay, it's probably just a me thing. It's fine. I don't care. It wasn't a big deal. But I was able to scrounge up a couple Glock mags from around the house. I tore the house apart, and I finally found some. Come to find out, actually, Kevin has 2 of them. But took it to the match, and I shot the match with it, and it was an absolute blast. I did find, though, that so I never thought that I had small thumbs, but the reach on this gun for my thumb, when I'm actually trying to get that magazine out, I just somebody told me how to fix it, but I can't right now just hit that magazine release as consistently, and so every single stage that I had to do a mag release on was a struggle bus for me, and I just couldn't get it. And finally,
is the button pressure better on the opposite side of the gun? Like if you were right-handed?
Because I could go boop with my index finger, and it would drop it easy.
But on your side of the gun, it's stiffer.
And there's a couple solutions. I could go through. Dave Moore said you can get reduced power magazine springs, which will make it a little bit softer to press if you don't have as good of leverage over it. I mean, alternately, if you could find an extended mag release, but this gun's way too new for that. And
there's no parts available for anything.
yeah, and honestly, I like this gun so much the way it is. I'm very inclined just to leave it alone. And so somebody said, "Hey, a lot of people with 2011s, you just have to flip the gun. You just kind of flip it in there, and it works just fine." And I'm gonna play around with it, see if I can kind of. It's a learning thing, but I'm gonna play around with it, see if I can figure it out. But here's the funny thing, and I am not at all casting any shade or dispersion on anybody, because before getting this, I was hearing so many people saying, this thing doesn't work. The Glock mags they don't work in this gun. The Metgar mags are crap.
The general consensus was that the Metgar mags have issues in Glocks, and the Glock mags have issues in the Staccato HD.
I did not experience that once. I mean, so you could say, well, you couldn't release the mag, but that's a me problem. That's not the magazines ran just fine. There wasn't a damn thing wrong with them. The gun ran great, and I never had a problem in the world with it. I thought it shot spectacularly well. It's a snappy gun. I mean, I've heard people say that, and I experienced, but it snaps so consistently perfect right back to where you want the gun to go. It's crazy good that way.
Yeah. Well, the one thing that I always find interesting about, like, looking at your guys is as they pop up, they're bull barreled. And like they're not like a 45 barreled gun with a 9mm. They're like literally a bull barreled gun. So they're still a short frame gun, but they still give you a big chonker of a bushingless barrel system on it. Yeah. And so, like, as a left-hander, Robert, good masterclass left-handed shooter. Magazine release so far not there for the left-handed shooter. It's like the M&P left-handed slide stop release, where it's like you would have to be the strongest person on the world to push down the left-handed slide release.
I bet you it's just my thumbs.
Yeah,
I bet you it's just the length of my hand being able to reach it, because, and if it comes down to it, I'll do what I've done with 1911s, and I'll just put it back on the other side and pop it with my index finger, because it'll work and it'll be consistent and it'll be awesome.
Yeah,
but
slide stop.
The slide stop works. I actually cannot make this gun go lock up, because the way that I put my thumb, like that, actually is pushing down on the ambi slide stop.
Yeah,
you hold your gun weird.
That's a CZ problem. It totally is, Jared. It's very much a CZ problem.
There's nothing there on the other side of the CZ for him to screw up. Like now he has right-handed problems, because before it was just like, what do you have on your left hand? Like, he had a safety, and that was it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's 100%. It's a me problem, and I do it because I'm trying to curl my thumbs down far enough to keep the CZ brass from ejecting into my causing the stovepipe that I had for so long.
Yeah.
But there's a ton of pictures that I've seen of me, and it is very much that. It's that curled over things instead of like forward. And that's the funny thing is, like, with most other guns, I could keep my thumbs flagged up in the air and it wouldn't make a difference in the world. But I become so accustomed to the CZs being that way. I hold it goofy.
So snappy or impulse optic system. You're running. What are you running on it?
Just an SRO.
SRO on there. Forward irons not interrupting with the SRO. That's perfectly fine.
Never noticed them.
Yeah.
I never once noticed them. What I found is that when you're actually shooting the stage, you'll have to tell me, because I don't know what it's called, but like the dots in the center of the window just fine, right?
Yeah.
But then if I like really bear down on the front sights, then it kind of snaps into that. So it's like I don't know. It's just different. I mean, oh, there you go. Jared's kind of got, but they're not in the way. I don't think they're bad at all.
Yeah.
No,
they're very unobtrusive for there, and they're narrow. It's a narrow rear notch. Well, a wider, narrow blades on the rear sight too. So it's just like, okay. It looks
well. They do exactly what they're supposed to be. They're backup iron sights, and it's actually one of the first times that we've seen on a pistol that they are dedicated backup iron sights. Most of the time, most pistols have
quote unquote backup iron sights that are really, they're made as primary aiming units, and they're just suppressor height sights.
Yep.
And so that's what they're made for. This is the first time I think we've seen on a pistol where it's genuinely like, no, these are super slim. They're very unobtrusive. They're very out of the way. And like you don't notice it at all when you shoot. But if you need them, it's nice because if this plate comes off, if this plate somehow fails, you still actually have your irons on there because they're mounted on there, not on the plate. So you still be able to do what you need to do. So that's the whole purpose
I never
of it.
thought of that.
Is that's why they made it like that, is because it's a genuine backup system where your primary system is mounted on one set of screws. The backup system is mounted on a second set, aka that roll pin or whatever the fuck it is. But that's the purpose of it. That's why it's an actual backup system, where a lot of times most of these red dots, you're starting to see the plates and the irons all on one plate system. So you have the red dot, the irons all on one plate. And if something dies, it's typically one of the screws will fly off. And then if your plate flies off, your rears fly off. And then you're like, oh, well, those backup irons didn't really do a whole lot.
The one thing that my one critique complaint is it's not anybody. It's a thing. There are no holsters for this. Like, this gun was released with no functional holsters on the market.
What did you use for the match?
That was the funny thing, right? So I'm just going around my house because a 2011 will fit in my CZ holsters, and so I was like, cool, I can just do that. No, I couldn't, and so I'm just going around and I'm just checking all the holsters that I have from over the years, and it fit in a Smith & Wesson holster, and it's not perfect, but it was more than perfect enough to be very secure, and I could get the gun out, shoot the stage, and then put it back in nice and safe. And that makes me happy because it means at least I have a holster that'll work.
Yeah. Remember that precision holster for M&P that you gave me, Tom?
Yep.
That's what I shot yesterday with this.
Well, glad it's got some use for it out of it.
It's working good.
Jared, your thoughts. So what you have, are you also running around with the 4-inch model, or did you get the 4 or 5?
Yeah, so I just have the 4-inch model. The 4 or 5 model is supposedly coming in a couple months, but we don't know, and they haven't given us a specific time frame. They just came out with just this one. Personally, if I was them, I would have just announced this one, then everyone would have bought this. The problem you're having, I think a lot of people are waiting for that 4 or 5 model because it's only a couple $100 more, but you get a longer gun, a sight block, you get a lot of really cool stuff on that other model. And I want the other model, but we'll see. And honestly, I like what Robert was saying. All I've heard online is a bunch of negativity. I've heard a bunch of really bad things, and I'm not seeing it at all. Like, this is the gun's a shooting son of a bitch. I posted a bunch of videos of me just ripping with it yesterday on my Waypoint Training Instagram page. So I was doing 12s and 13 splits in the match. And yes, it's not like the wisest decision for points wise, but the whole goal of yesterday for me was to just push it as fast as I could go to see, like, if I just rip 3-4 shots and split as fast as I possibly can, what's going to happen with my hits? Like, are they all going to be close? Is it going to be wide? Are we going to have some alpha deltas? Like, what is this going to be? And it was kind of a simple way of testing that Atlas Gunworks idea of, like, the perfect recoil or whatever it's called, the return to zero or whatever they call it. But it did great, honestly. The only time I had a problem was I had one mic on a stage which had about, I think it was like a 15-yard zebra on it. And one was in the A and one was just outside the A. And honestly, I think that was me. It might have been because I haven't even zeroed it. I literally just lined up this red dot with the irons and just dotted the eye of the irons and was like,
Oh, that's kind of what I did. I mean I zeroed it at 10 yards. I took it to the armory. I threw it on, took it to the armory, but before then I just went and I basically lined the dot up with the irons, put it kind of pumpkin on a fence post, and then I went and zeroed it, and it was hardly anything off of that. It was pretty damn accurate straight out.
Right.
That was cool.
And so it did fine enough, and I just didn't have time because I got this. I think I got this on Thursday, and I shot the match on Friday.
You're running
And
Glock
so
mags, right?
yeah, and I was running my normal Glock mags that I shoot with the Terran Tactical base pads on there. Zero issues. I've probably shot about 500-600 rounds out of this thing now. Haven't had a single malfunction with it. You can tell it is getting dirty, but haven't had any problems. I've been really, I don't know, I really like it.
So
I really
Yeah.
like the mounting system, because there's been some confusion on that because they say it's direct to the slide, but then you have to get an adapter plate. So how it works is you get an adapter plate that fits in these two recoil boss holes, and then the actual screws do screw into the slide. Um, the slide of this gun is actually significantly wider than a standard 1911 or a 2011. That's one reason why it won't fit in a lot of holsters. The reason
Oh.
why is so that they could actually get an RMR cut to direct mount onto it. And so that's a big pro. I like that. I really like the mounting system. I really like these backup iron sights. I haven't had any issues with the safety. From what I understand, there's been two minor updates on the gun since release. Update one, they've beveled slash buffed, I don't know what you want to call it,
Oh,
this
blended, I
spot
think
right
is what I've
here,
heard people
blended,
call it.
because there was a hot spot on them on the first gen, and a lot of people were complaining about that. You see it a lot in the YouTube reviews, and a lot of complaints about the hotspot on the beaver tail. I don't have that at all. Zero hotspot for me, and this feels
Yeah.
really, really blended, very soft, honestly. So they updated that, and then also I know our buddy, Humble Marksman, had his rear sight pin actually slide out, and apparently that's happened on a couple guns. So supposedly they've made that pin slightly bigger, and I've heard those are the two things that they've fixed. And since other than that, I really haven't heard any negative things. I've heard some negative things about the Mechgar mags. I've heard some negative things about. Um, that's really it. Shooting wise, it's like Robert said, it's a little snappy. But once you put a light on there, that helps it a little bit, getting the weight out front. And I don't know. I've liked it a lot. The grip's slightly smaller than the standard 2011 grips. And one thing that I've always had a problem with is when I shoot with 2011s, I'll shoot. I break my grip to reload.
So you are doing
Reload.
that.
I've always done that with 2011s.
That's that's
And
that's what people said I needed to try and do.
and so that's what I've been doing with this is you break your grip just a hair, insert, re-engage, and go. And with 2011s, a lot of times when I come back and get back on the gun, my right hand will be just a skosh off.
Yeah.
And actually, I found that a lot of times on after reloads, that's when I start having issues on stages. But this, I don't know if it's just the size of the frame. I can drop this, get back on target, and I get right back in the exact same spot every single time. So I've really liked that. The slide lock reloads are significantly faster. One of the things as a 2011 shooter, typically how you shoot, then your left hand actually comes up and presses down the slide release when you reload like this. That's how you release it because your primary thumb can't do it. And with this, actually, the extended release, it makes it really easy to shoot, reload, and then you instantaneously launch this forward. And literally on my day one playing with it, I was doing, I think, 1.2 slide lock reloads with a 2011, which is a lot faster than normal.
Yep.
For me, most of the time with slide lock reloads on 2011s, I'm like at a 1.5. And so to do that a 1.2 on literally the first day I've gotten with it, it means I might be able to do it like a Glock, because I can do Glock slide locks at about a 1 or a 1.1 when I'm really on the gas. And so I think I can do that with this. And so I like the safety, very positive. The trigger is great. You really can't even tell that the Series 80 is in there. I honestly, there's just a slight take up, and then you have a wall, a very nice, clean, defined wall, and probably 4.5, 5 pound trigger pull, which again is what you anticipate. And I don't know, I've really been impressed with the gun. I shot a master classifier with it. So it's been great. The only thing that I wish I could have, I want a magwell. I like magwells. So I would like to have that, but it's not really needed.
I mean,
I
it seems
just
like it's got a
them.
front and back magwell, and it seems like it's well, maybe a little bit narrower than like a Glock factory Gen 5.
So what it has is it has a little bit of a lip right here that is nice because it actually pushes your pinky up.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the things that people actually like about magwells that they don't understand is what magwells do is they actually force your hand
squeeze your grip
a little bit higher up into the gun.
Oh, sure.
And
sure.
that actually will get you it's less room for error, in my opinion. It gives you more repeatability.
Yeah.
Just having that little bit of magwell pushing your hand up. I like magwells just for that reason, not even necessarily for the reload speed, but just because it makes it a little bit more repeatable, in my opinion. But honestly, I've been really impressed with it, and especially getting it for the cop price of like $1,900. That's not bad at all. If it's under $2,000, I think it's a great deal. I don't know if I'd roll $2,600 on this, but I've been really impressed with it. I was talking to one of the lead firearm guys at my PD, and we'll see if I can run it as a duty gun, but I just need to get a duty holster because Safariland dropped the ball on that. They still don't have damn holsters for it.
Well,
that's kind of stupid.
Here's my question for you guys: is not as police, not as somebody who needs to have a safer, drop safe pistol. Robert's made a USPSA career out of not having a drop safe pistol.
A fact.
If
you don't drop it, it doesn't need to be drop safe. All I'm saying.
If they came to you guys and said, "We can trade you across, like here's the gun and your Glock magazines, and we're going to give you a Staccato P with the magazines," are you shooting a Staccato P, or are you trading that for a Tactical Steel Customs, or are you trading that for the older generation of 2011 that's out there right now for around that $3,000 price point, or are you sticking with this for USPSA shooting? Obviously, for duty, it's a different gun. It's made for that. But like, would you trade that for a Staccato P with similar features?
Go ahead, Jared. You tell, and then I'll tell mine.
So for USPSA, I think I would still go with either a Staccato P or a standard 2011 because the amount of customization that is available. You can change the triggers. You can change, if you don't like this, you can change the safety out. You can change the grip. You can change this to make this metal. You can do anything to a 2011, literally. And just for the pure customization aspect of it, I think that's going to get you a better race gun at the end of it. That's just the reality. There is nothing that you can do right now to customize this gun. You can't even change out the damn safeties because I believe they're proprietary. I think they said the only thing on here that's swappable with a standard 2011 is the sear and not even the disconnector. It was something else. It was one other part, but they were like trigger ignition components. And so that's the problem. It's like there's nothing in this gun that is swap outable right now.
Yeah, well, the other part I think too, it's like for a right-handed USPSA shooter, there's nothing really new on the Staccato HD that it gives you besides if you like moving from a Glock and you got 8 billion Glock magazines,
So the main thing for me, and the reason why I think I'm going to start shooting this actually instead of my Tac Steel Custom, instead of my other 2011s, is because I really like the ability, because right now my work gun, I have a work belt that's Glock mags, That's what it's built up as. And I'm used to that, and I like the positions, and I like where that is. I like the S-Tac mag pouches. I like all those things. The 2011 S-Tac mag pouches, I haven't had the best luck with. I never really liked how the retention on them. And I really like the idea of saying, hey, this is my gun belt. I can pop this Glock holster, put it over there, take this Staccato HD holster, put it on, and I don't have to change anything else. I don't have to change the mags. I don't have to change anything on there. It's just 100% pick this up, swap the gun, and that's it.
It's convenience.
And that for me is really nice. Not having to bring multiple gun belts to the range is nice. Being able to just practice with one gun belt is nice. I like that. I like all those things. Whether or not it's like, again, if I was going to be world champion, would I probably run this? No, because you're going to want to get a steel frame grip. You're going to want to get a tungsten magwell. You're going to want to get the fancy pants followers with the 1 pound trigger, 2 pound trigger, whatever. You can't do a 2 pound trigger with this gun just because of the Series 80 components in there. From what I understand, you cannot do a 2 pound trigger with this. You can get it lighter than what it currently is, but this is a duty gun first and foremost. And honestly, I think it excels as that. So as of right now, I've been really impressed with it. I've honestly, it performed above my expectations, and so far I've been really, really happy with it. And whenever they come out with that compensated one that they had a picture up on their Instagram, I will 100% buy the compensated one. I don't know if I'm going to buy the 4.5 one, just because I don't know if it's going to do anything better than this. We'll see. But absolutely, I will buy that compensated
on the 4.5 one. The iron sights on the 4.5 one, are they still the upfront backup irons?
It's the exact same thing. It's the exact same thing back here. The only difference on the 4.5 versus the 4 is it has a sight block right here, and the front sight's on the sight block. That's it.
That's a very it's such a strange thing for me to see forward irons with a sight block pistol. And it's like the whole point for what the sight block was, like, maximum non-reciprocating sight radius for when we were shooting irons. Like, you'd see a guy with a sight block pistol, you'd be like, man, that's pretty cool to sit there. The
only reason I could think that they did the sight block was, honestly, it's a step towards the compensated version.
Yeah,
that's what it is. Because the sight block is literally, I think it's going to be the exact same thing as the compensated, the XC model or whatever they want to call it, but it just doesn't have the cuts in the sight block. Whereas the XC version of this, whenever it comes out, it's going to be the same thing. That 4.5, probably, maybe a 4.7, or maybe a 5, who knows. And it'll just have that same exact sight block, but have it be cut out. And so it was just, I think it's just a logical progression. And so it did great, though. I mean, I got 9th overall yesterday at the match. How many shooters were there? There were 188 shooters. 163. Why am I showing 188?
Take out the classifier reshoots.
Okay. So 163 shooters. I haven't been to a match in God knows how long, and I was the second place in limited optics. If you just count limited optics and carry optics, I believe I was 3rd place. We had 2 open guys, and the PCC crowd came out hard, and I don't know. I'm really happy with that for this gun.
Yep.
Where it's literally the first time shooting it hard. I'm impressed.
It's a duty built gun. Robert, same question. Left-handed shooter. You get in with a Prodigy. You going with a Staccato P. What are you doing with that thing?
So that's a really interesting question to me. Jared made the point, like, this is a duty pistol. It's made for duty first, foremost, and everything. And if you run it in competition, then so be it. If the biggest thing that was the selling point to me was the left hand to be the ambidextrous nature of it. The nice thing about the 2011 market right now is that MPA is actually making the Mitchell mag release. So if you're left-handed, you can purchase the mag release that would be on the right-hand side of the gun and run a gun like you normally would. A lot of lefties have become accustomed to hitting the mag release with their index finger or their middle finger. But I have actually, over the course of probably about a year, I've been starting to heavily transition away from just dicking with guns and trying to customize and change every single piece and part. And I've been playing a lot with like, how well does this gun run basically as a stock gun? I mean, does it run well out of the box? And in that regard, I actually really love this gun for that, because out of the box, it just works, and it works great. The Prodigy, when I got it, and I know what I got when I got it with the Prodigy. It took a lot of work, and Dave Blanton, he made the pretty true point that you're going to spend Staccato money or Bull Armory money to get that Prodigy where you want it, and this Staccato, it just works right out of the box. The fact that I can roll up to a range and I can pull it out, and having never shot it in a match, and I definitely wasn't even close to Jared's level, but it's still this idea that I just show up and this gun, I can just go shoot it. I like that a lot. No. And so the question that I'm thinking in my head is, would I replace my Shadow 2s with this? No, not a chance in hell. I love my Shadow 2s. That's my baby, but I can absolutely promise you that this gun's going to get shot a lot. I mean, I may shoot like the first slips a match with this, and the Shadow 2 at the second match or something like that.
So if you sit there and you go like, I'm going to shoot LO, you're going to leave the Shadow on the table and shoot that in LO? Or is the inclination put a magwell put a wider safety or something on the Shadow and bring that to LO?
Well, that's the dumbest thing about that whole LOCO division. I mean, like, for the longest time, it was like I'd go and I'd sign up for the slips and matches and be like, well, do I want to be LO or CO today? Because I can do both. It doesn't actually matter. There's no effing difference.
Yeah.
It's 2025. You can be whatever you want.
Exactly.
No, you can't. Trump's president. Go ahead.
But this, I mean, this actually has a defined place inside of that division. And so I'm sure from my perspective, there's a little bit of that new girlfriend syndrome, but at the same time, I really like it. I think it's fun. I am very, very happy. When I first kind of like ordered it and everything like that, I started hearing all the horror stories about the gun, like, oh, is it? And I'm like, shit, maybe I bought a lemon, because
everyone's like, shit.
Yeah. And then you get it and you take it out, and then the Mech-Gar mags work, the P mags work, the Glock mags work. I mean, the gun runs. I don't have any problem with the safeties flipping on or off.
Yeah.
If this was the first 2011 I ever bought in my life, I would be so tickled pink happy. It is that great of a gun. I'm very, very impressed with it. There's nothing about this gun that I'm like, I have to change this now.
So it is this the new buy once, cry once starter 2011 over like the Staccato P?
I honestly think you could do a whole lot worse.
I would say yes, just because, one, again, in my opinion, who this is marketed to is for cops. If cops were looking to get into the 2011 world, one, everybody hates the grip safety, so it gets rid of that. Mm-hmm. Two, everybody hates the expensive mags, so it gets rid of that. Three, everybody hated the mounting the system for the Staccato P. It wasn't great. Having to have those multiple failure points in there wasn't great. I don't like plate systems in general. I like these style systems where it actually is mounted directly into the slide. Seems like a lot of companies are going with that in the future, like Springfield and a couple other companies are having like the plastic spacers, which I think those work great. I would actually prefer the plastic spacers over these metal ones, because the metal ones are expensive. But it's like, this does everything that you would want out of a 2011. This is like a middle transition from you have Glock and you have race gun 2011s. This fits right there in the middle, and it's a nice transition. That this is that perfect Goldilocks zone, we'll call it, where it's
Yeah,
a very,
that's a
very,
great way of describing that.
it's a
That's a
very
perfect place.
simple, introducible gun to people who have not shot 2011s but want to get into deeper waters. Is it the best 2011? No. Is it going to compete against the best 2011s? No. It is not an Atlas. It is not an Infinity. It's not even like a high end Staccato P with a fucking Phoenix Trinity grip on there. Like, obviously, those guns are going to shoot better. They are. There's no question about that. But this is a nice middle of the ground, kind of jack of all trades style gun, and I think that's what they made it to be. We'll see if they try to come out with a more quote unquote competition gun, but all in all, I've been impressed with it, and I'm gonna be shooting it. I'm gonna be shooting the shit out of it in limited optics for this next month while I'm trying to get some practice in before the cop match. I got to decide what a gun I'm going to shoot for that match because Shane Coley's going to be coming out, and I have to beat that motherfucker. So I'm trying to decide what gun I want to shoot, and we'll see how that goes. But I mean, honestly, I've been pleased as punch with this. And I've talked to a handful of cops who all came and like were asking me about it and like, hey, so what do you think? I've been holding off, and I've told every single one of them, I'm like, dude, if you want, like, I haven't had anything bad with it. Come try it, play with it, shoot it. And I had a bunch of guys shoot it on Friday, and every single one of them said, oh, that's actually really nice. I thought it was going to be a lot worse from all the internet hate. Like, this is solid.
I think the internet hate really was that it was just not as nice as the P. I think a lot of, as far as shooting characteristics, I think a lot of people saw that and they're like, this solves everything and it's going to shoot as nice as a P. And then they got it and they're like, well, it solves a lot of things, but it does not shoot as nice of a P. Like, I watched Dave's video with him out there with the P and the HD, and it's like, yeah, the P shoots nicer, and the Staccato P should shoot nicer. But I think
Right.
I think the nice thing is now it's like, for the same price, you can go a competition route or you can go kind of like a duty route. And the other part is like, that is such a popular handgun. The parts are going to start flooding in with that thing, and you're going to be able to get that thing relatively pretty close to something a little bit more tuned up. Is it going to be the highest end of custom 1911s? Nope, but nothing is the highest end of custom whatevers out there.
But you know what's funny though, Tommy, is like, so I have my Shadow 2s, and I love them. It's a sub 2 pound trigger in the single action form, but I draw this gun and I start shooting the stage, and the trigger is crisp, it's clean, it's perfect,
Yeah.
and I just shoot the stage. I'm never sitting there and being like, oh man, I wish I had the accuracy and the easiness of my Shadow 2. When I'm actually shooting the gun,
It's a non-issue.
it's a non-issue, and it just shoots. It's a shooting gun, and they built it damn good. I mean, like the difference between a Series 80 trigger and a Series 70. Yeah, I mean, I'm supposedly you could feel it, but when I pull the trigger, I don't feel it.
You can't tell at all. And I'm a trigger snob with 1911 and 2011s, and I literally, like, you cannot tell at all here where you have a tiny bit of that take up,
Mm-hmm.
just like any 1911, and then just 4 or 5 pounds of pressure,
And it breaks.
like,
Yeah.
you can't tell at all. And it's honestly, I actually went and showed this to Blake, and Blake did not know about it. I told him, like, hey, I got the new Staccato, do you want to see it? And he's like, oh, what'd they come out with now? Much more stupid shit. And I'm like, it takes Glock mags. And all of a sudden he goes,
Yeah.
what? I'm like, yeah, dude, they rebuilt the whole thing. Like, this is an entirely new platform. He's like, let me see that. So we went over and looked at it, and he's like, oh, this is really nice. Oh, cool. Oh, hey, they made that wider. And he's going through and noting everything. He's like, oh, this is actually, huh, I want one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I would really love to. I'm very happy with this 4 inch. It's kind of, I was telling Jared, and even you, Tommy, is like I've actually started. I used to be wanting to have a real nice slow moving slide, and over the course of about last year and a half, I wanted that slide to be moving faster and faster. I actually really like
The,
how quick this slide moves. Like
yeah.
I want that slide moving, but I'm very curious. I would love to shoot the 4.5 and see if it's just so much of a difference
Yeah.
that you would want to get rid of it. I don't think it's gonna be.
Not with
The
not with the
only
sight
thing,
blocker up there. Probably it's probably going to be as snappy, just not as pitchy.
right, and the only really thing I think you could do to this gun right now is you could tune the recoil spring a skosh. Because this is made for duty rounds, so
Hmm.
this is made to be shooting 145 power factor ammo, 140 power factor ammo, and so yeah, could you tune that a little bit and so it's not as violently snappy? I think so. Um, and I'm
That'd be
betting they'll
interesting though,
probably come out
because
with some spring kits later on.
yeah. Well, the weird thing is that when you pull it apart, it's got this. Oh gosh, it's probably maybe 3/4 to an inch of Delrin uh, buffer
All
inside
right, the
on
shock buff.
that shock buff. Shock buff, yeah. And it's funny because when I first had it, I'm sitting there and I'm shaking the gun, and you can hear that like this thing rattling around. I'm like, what the hell is that? And
I
finally
thought it
taking
was
it
the
apart, I'm
Series 80s parts.
oh yeah. And so I was like, well, that's just cheap. But then you take it apart and you're like, oh, that's what that is. And I suppose you could take it off. Like on the CZs, um, I absolutely take those stupid shock buffs that come with. I do not use them. I throw them away immediately because they're just trash. But um, this, I'd be curious to see what tuning the recoil would do to it. I like the recoil as it is.
I mean, the
Uh,
one thing is like with the shock buffs, as long as the system's actually built to maintain and have that shock buff in there, it's not too bad. With them,
sure.
is when you add that part on top of to take out some of the travel, like that stuff is really just meant there not to beat the shit out of the frame. It's not really meant for anything for the shooter, but not to beat the
Yeah.
shit out of the frame. It's like the old HK things where they have the secondary piston back there, which was to stop the slide travel, so it wouldn't beat the crap out of the frame. And then they just put little non-compressible pieces of plastic in there so that the slide would bounce off, hit that instead of bouncing off the frame too. So it's like good
Yeah.
long. It looks like a legitimate service pistol that was made for hard use for departments, and that happens to probably be the highest, well, the best shooting or probably performance driven duty pistol that's available, and it should be for $2,600.
Yeah. Honestly, the worst part about it is just that my my thumbs couldn't reach that, and I was literally just yanking on the mag and stripping that thing out of there. But the stuff that people told me to try and do, I'm gonna try that in practice and figure out how to do it. And I think it'll just be a non-issue. What a great gun. I mean, congrats to Staccato. They actually built themselves a good contender for that market.
Awesome. Last thing I want to talk about before we move on was the 7-stage level 2 match that apparently is happening twice a month.
That's so awesome. That the coolest thing about this, and I think there's actually a question that's going to come to this, so we'll answer it then. But we started at 8:30, and we were pretty much off the range at 2:30. The time never changed. It was still the same amount of time that we were on and off the range.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so we added a stage, but we still left at the same time.
the Friday match went about from noon to about 4.
That's not bad.
That's great. 7
Yeah.
stages. There's a little bit of a backup a couple times because of stage 1 was a lot significantly larger than the other stages, and that, in my opinion, was a bad stage design. But it was a fun stage. It was just too much. That was a 20-30 second stage for a lot of people, whereas well, here I'll show you.
It would have been stage 7 was
Lena Michalek. She shot stage 1 with her coked out PCC in 24 seconds. All of the other stages she shot between 9 and 10 seconds, literally. 957, 947, 1064, 1053, 330 for the classifier, and 942. The problem is you have one stage that's 24 seconds. And again, that's for the number one shooter, Lena. If we scroll down to the bottom, click on this guy, his stage 1 time was 45 seconds.
Why do you have to be calling me out like that?
Oddly, his stage 3 time was 57 seconds, so I don't know what that's about.
I think he had a worse stage.
I think that there's on that particular stage, there's a couple things you could have done that would have brought the timing down a little bit. If you had eliminated right at the start, if you had eliminated the far run to the left side and that long shot, just eliminate that whole thing.
It's about 5 seconds, yeah.
Yeah, you drive that time down pretty quick, and that's a simple little fix. So those are small tweaks and things that you can do as you.
It's just the common match flow problem. It's just the match flow thing.
Yeah,
for sure.
That was it. I mean, so this is another guy I picked on who's a Class C shooter. Stage 1, 50 seconds. Every other stage was between 20 and 26 seconds.
Yeah.
And so again, that's fine, but if you have one stage that's literally double the time, it's gonna get backed up.
Yep.
Yeah, and
so
the hope
other
with that
than
one, though, the hope with that one was that because stage 7 was such a far walk, that you could absorb some of that time, and they largely did. We had 2 reshoots on that stage, which really sucked.
On stage 1?
On stage 1, yeah.
Ooh.
We had a shooter. It's so funny. We had a shooter who wasn't wearing iPro on 2 stages, and it was only stage 1 that we finally caught it. And I'm going through and I'm editing all the photos that I took, and I'm like, oh shit, he wasn't wearing it there. And sure enough, either, and just nobody caught it. And shit, that happens. But we stopped him at that point and reshot him. And then there was another one where a piece of steel had not been reset, and so it backed it up a little bit. But
the only thing I would be worried about is just that stage flow, because especially if you're going to have, like for instance, that classifier stage. That classifier stage is literally 4 to 10 seconds, and to have that as its own stage, it'll speed them through, and then they'll start stage 6. If that stage 6 is classifier, they'll start riding the coattails of stage 7. And so I started on stage 7, and we never once really escaped from the squad behind us just because of that first initial catch up. They were riding our tails the entire day, and where there's one time where they were waiting for like 5, 6 shooters.
That's the thing. It's like if all stages are able, that you are able to show up to the next stage, to an empty stage, that is the ideal. It's like, so like you could have a walk, you could have a 2-minute walk for one stage to the next stage, but the problem is with that 2-minute walk is the reset time. It's the reset time of the stage. So if you have a 50-second stage or a 27-second stage, and it's twice as long as all the other stages, the reset time is what's going to eat that alive.
Right.
And so it's just like,
and stage 1 also had some long walk resets where they had farther targets out there, and it wasn't like something where if you are going to have a longer stage, you have to have it where everyone can reset everything as you go.
Yeah.
And so that's one way to cheat it, where it's like this is a faster reset stage, but also it's a longer shooting stage. So there's ways to game it there. But the problem is like if you have at the very end of it, that's where you have all your far targets, you have far steel, and then every single time somebody's got to walk, those 15, 20 yards to go do that. And then, I ran out of tape. Now I'm going to Roomba back.
Or have an activator or something like that actually needs to be reset, or multiple targets that need to be counted and taped. Like,
Jared, did you guys have the tape at your match? It was like
dog shit tape,
lighter. Yes.
Yeah, so it was terrible when it was cold, but once it warmed up a little, the tape worked great. It was just when it was cold this was like at noon, so it wasn't the morning, but it was just cold that day. It was cold on Friday, and the tape was awful. And then once it actually got a little sunny, the tape became fine.
Yep.
But everybody was mad about it.
Yep.
Yeah, they used it Saturday. They started using it Saturday, and after like 2 shooters, the person that would come through and they would shoot the target, and it was literally just blowing all that tape off.
Yeah.
I mean, and it was just worthless. And so
it doesn't perform in the cold.
It's terrible. I mean, like it's on the rolls, and I wish they'd stop using tape rolls, but that's neither here nor there. But when you actually go to pull the tape off, I mean, it's basically just falling off the rolls when it's that cold. It's worthless.
Yeah.
And so but the
I
thing
like
that sucks
rolls.
they bought so much tape rolls just recently, and I was like, fuck.
Well,
please don't do that.
Let's talk about something a little bit more interesting than tape. Dominate Defense, head on over there, get the best Mach 1 speed belt. I got mine chilling right over there behind my shoulder. Anyways, check them out. Use promo code PARA10, save 10% off your order. Also check out American Operator Gear. Rune Tactical, plus up your gun with a extra bullet with follower and spring kits from Rune Tactical. Use the same promo code. And Kevin Isaac's W74 guide rods, where you can beef up that guy. You got that Staccato HD? Just wait. Gonna get some more tungsten in that bad boy soon enough. Kevin's got to buy everything. Research, he calls it. He calls it research. Use promo code PARA10, save 10% off that. Telegram, messaging app, lots of cool channels you can subscribe to. One of them is the PARAcast. Download it, type in the PARAcast. We'll pop right up. You can ask us a couple questions, and we'll take a couple, and we'll get on out of here.
I think we've turned into like the old folks channel, because from Ron Davison, I'm buying a house and I'd like recommendation for insurance on guns, please.
Whatever, I don't know. Like, I have my renter's insurance, and when I was in the house, it was just like homeowner's insurance for like theft and stuff like that, and it'd just be like, here's the documentation of my guns. So
yeah, I don't know. I didn't even do any of that. I have homeowner's insurance, and I know that if my guns get stolen, I'm fucked. But
yeah, in most cases the firearms aren't generally, they're only valued up to a certain point.
They only cover a couple thousand.
Yeah, and then after that you need to
Like
get a
jewelry.
rider. And then the problem with the rider is, depending on the insurance company, they want to know all the guns you have and the serial numbers and the purchases. And I'm like, nice try, ATF. So yeah, I'm not.
That's what I did, is I had a rider on mine. I gave him that. I don't want to lose all my stuff. Like $2,000, that's one Mark 23. Not even with the suppressor. I couldn't bear to have that go.
You didn't want to lose any of your $300 service pistols?
Easy, buddy. $500 service pistols.
Oh, yeah. That, like, seriously, that was like most of the stupid questions on this thing. Now I got to go find it.
Oh, that's fine. I think we talked about the 7-stage matches, and we talked about that. So I actually think we're actually pretty good for an episode, as we're an hour and 16 minutes in.
Well, good, because I can't find the rest of them.
Good. Well, good. We're done talking to you people, and I'm done talking to these two people.
So
thanks for downloading. Thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for all that you guys do. Apparently, there's a glowing reviews of Staccato HD, so get on your wait list and go buy those things. So for Robert Wyatt and Jared Stepp, I'm Tom Nelson, bidding you peace, love, and soul as we depart into the open waters of the Sea of Life on a little tugboat we like to call the PARAcast.
Good night, everybody.
Do, do.